What's the dumbest thing your parents made a big deal of? Devil-worshipping music. My mom grew up in the 70s listening to rock music, so she knew that bands like Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance and Gym Class Heroes would lead me strung out on drugs and having premarital sex. She never asked me what I was listening to, all of it was evil. She yelled at me for listening to Flyleaf, then tried to backtrack when she learned they were Christian rock. I had to save my Cake CD from the trash a couple of times because Cake equals Ozzy Osbourne to her. Oh, and boys, of course. I was never allowed to call them, they weren't allowed to call me even in high school. One time, my mom at 13 let me walk the 10 blocks from my middle school to my sister's elementary school. Two guys we knew grabbed my friend's backpack and ran off. This was my grandmom's neighborhood, so I knew all the streets. So my friend and I are chasing these two guys around because it's safe and she needs her backpack. We finally catch up to them and my mom pulls up. I got a fun lecture about my whorish ways and how I was going to end up pregnant and on Section 8. She then expressed to me that she was worried I was a lesbian because I didn't seem interested in boys a few years later. Good times. Dressing up for casual family gatherings. They'd insist I wear a tucked-in collared shirt and khaki pants like a fucking dork. They said all the kids would be wearing the same stuff, but when we showed up, all my cousins would be wearing t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops. Every damn time. Same. At least with my dad's side of the family, people would be somewhat dressed up when us kids were little at Christmas and Easter. But any other time? And on my mom's side? Yeah, no one did. I remember my mother fussing because I was going to wear Converses, and they weren't beat up, to a house where we were going to take off our shoes anyway. I'm 29 and I still feel rebellious wearing jeans to family events. Same here. Hell, I'm 35, and when I show up to Christmas or Thanksgiving wearing a t-shirt, my mom still gives me shit, and I still point out that literally everyone else is wearing the same stuff. Some parents can be so damn stubborn. A male friend of mine bought a pair of pink socks. When his mother found out, she kicked his door so hard it came partly off its hinges. She called him gay and a ladyboy, broke his laptop, threw the socks in a river behind their house, and grounded him for 2 months. Well, she tried to. He continuously snuck out until she got fed up and lifted the grounding. This was a nice few years ago, and last I heard he moved out and had disowned his mother. Can't blame him. That woman was psychotic. I don't think my parents realized how much of an effect this had on me, but jokingly judging my interests and actions. It was really minor, so I could see how they didn't notice. Few examples. For a long while, I didn't read because I was horrible at it. I did what I had to for school, and that was it. Well, I find a book that actually looks interesting and I go to read. I get a good chunk of the way through by the time they actually catch me reading, and my mom is like, "What's wrong? Do you have a fever? Are you okay? You're actually reading this is how you make me not want to pick up a book again or just hide the fact I'm reading further. And now I'm being secretive. You're wondering what I'm hiding. I'm hiding a completely innocent book, and that's your own fault. And then just other choices in general. Say I wanted to try something new. They'd make a big deal about questioning why I might want to do that. As if that choice was an awful choice and I shouldn't be making it. And this goes for things like I wanted to buy a CD of something they didn't I liked. I got some weird reactions when I wanted to buy a Weird Al CD. Years later, I bought a Disturbed CD, and my mom was more quiet for it, but was clearly not entirely on board, just due to album art. But I also felt like I had just done the worst thing ever because of a nasty knot in the pit of my stomach. I just bought a fucking CD, I shouldn't be worked up about this. Another choice was I wanted to try on a pair of Converse and maybe buy them. They had been a popular shoe for a while, and I was pretty anti-popular, but I just wanted something more interesting than the same pair of running shoes I always wore. They made a huge stink about that. Like, would it have hurt to just say okay, cool, we can go tomorrow? So now I feel embarrassed about going against the norms I've set for myself. I want to change, but change also terrifies me because I don't want to be judged. I've been out of my parents' house for a couple of years now and still have the issue. I love my parents to death and everything else they did was pretty much fine, but it was these little things that just got to me. I was like 11 or 12 years old when I chatted with a friend of mine. It wasn't something special. We've talked about Pokemon. If I memorize it correctly, it was like 6 to 5 years ago. Everything was normal until my mother came into the room and looked straight on my phone. First I thought nothing about it, but when I saw her grin on me, I knew something was going on. I wasn't able to say what is going on because love wasn't a topic for me back then, and I had many normal friendships with boys already, so I didn't saw this chat as a critical point. This changed when I came to dinner. I thought nothing about it and sat down on the table, but my mother, my stepfather and a friend of my stepfather sat on the sofa and looked at me with a big grin. I asked what's going on, and the friend asked me why I hadn't my phone with me. I simply answered that I have to hurry because my dad would pick me up in an hour, and I'm a very slow eater. After this answer he asked why I'm so cruel to let my boyfriend alone. I didn't get it at first again, but soon I got their belonging. They were constantly picking on me because I have a boyfriend, but wouldn't act with him correctly. I tried to explain them that it wasn't my boyfriend, and I'm not even interested in this guy to be my BF, but they didn't believe me. Instead they would pick on me on every weekend when I was at my mother's home on this topic for like 1 or 2 months. TLDR. My mom saw a normal chat between me and a friend, and is picking on me because of this with her husband and a friend of her husband. Edit. I should add that in German the words for a normal friend and a BF or GF are the same word. So it was even harder for me to understand their belonging at first. It might be confusing when I retell it in English without this information. I had bought a replica Ocarina of Time for my friend's birthday and stored it in my room in the meantime. My mom found it and swore it was a bong and was about to tear me a new one. I had to play Zelda's lullaby on it for her to prove to her it was an instrument and in fact not a bong. I was 15 or so when this happened. I found some Christmas-themed M&Ms in our cupboard and asked my dad if I could use them to make cookies or something. He said yes. While I was gathering ingredients I realized we had the things to make brownies, and I knew that brownies were my siblings' favorites. An hour and a half later or so my dad comes upstairs, looks at the brownies and says, "I thought you were making cookies." I said that I decided to make brownies instead, and he went off grumbling. Over the course of the next few days I kept hearing him mumble something about cookies. Fast forward a year later, it's Christmas time again. He comes home from shopping and has a bag of Christmas M&Ms. He looks me right in the eyes and says, "I'm going to make cookies with these." That's not where it ends though. I am now 21. I still hear now and then about the cookies. You should bake him 20 pounds of the cookies and wrap them up for Christmas, include a note that says, "Shut the fuck up about the cookies." I remember I got into some intense fights with my parents about my confirmation dress. I had been thinking about it for a while before I started looking for a confirmation dress, and I decided that I could get a sleeveless or strapless white dress, as long as I wore a cover-up over it. The church is kind of strict about showing your shoulders and that shit. Because I didn't want to limit myself to only trying on dresses with sleeves, and I really wanted to wear a cover-up with my dress anyways, so I didn't think it would matter. And I thought it would look pretty. Anyways, my parents were pretty angry about this. They kept asking me, "Why do you want to be so deviant?" They insisted I find a dress that had sleeves, even though I was wearing a cover-up. I didn't like any of the dresses that had sleeves skirts, which would have been the only thing that showed with a cover-up, so it was extremely frustrating, and I still don't get why they made such a big deal about it. If me or my siblings liked any celebrity, no matter who it was, she would immediately say they were gay. She read it in a magazine. She was, probably still is, incredibly homophobic. A bit racist as well. She assumed everyone else was too. I remember her specifically banning my older brother from listening to Queen for a while, because they're gay. She told me, around the age of 8, that she'd put a bullet in my head if I ever turned out gay for my own good. It's really weird because when I was younger, like 5, she was big on teaching me to love and respect everyone no matter what. Then the older I got, the more homophobic and racist she became. Just got crazier as the years went on. Shaving my legs. When I was like 14, my mother sat me down and explained that only sluts shaved their legs. I was a dancer. I'd pretty much been shaving my legs since I was like 9. Hair plus tights made my legs itch. My mum was kind of absentee for the first 14 years of my life. When she finally started paying attention, she tried to catch up by basically telling me that anything she didn't like was something only sluts did. Sounds like my mother. You were an especially big slut if you ever wanted to wear eyeliner because only sluts wear eyeliner. How is shaving legs slutty? When I was little my mom bought me a dress to wear for Christmas, which I wore to my kindergarten Christmas choir and had some professional photos taken with me wearing it. The logic is that being it's for Christmas I'm only going to wear it around Christmas, right? Nope. My mom kept making me wear it for every holiday and Sunday for church, well past Christmas. Into spring months. After a while the tights he made me wear with it started getting really itchy, to the point where I was putting holes in it, but she still made me wear it. I even said to my mom, "Why do I have to keep wearing this dress?" She said, "It's nice to look ladylike." That's pretty laughable compared to how I dress now. And the whole ladylike thing is bullshit, Imo. What I really meant to say when I asked her is, why am I still wearing this well past Christmas, and being the tights are ridiculously itchy and full of holes. But my knowledge over how to properly convey my thoughts into words so that people understand me was pretty limited back then. Luckily I think she finally realized it's not worth it to make me wear it anymore, cause I stopped wearing it not long after that. We weren't allowed to lock doors. Bathroom could be shut but not locked. Do you know how easy it is to unlock a bathroom door? Same here, except I was allowed to lock bathroom doors. One time, when I was 12, I was working on something that made a shitton of noise, and I guess my dad was talking to someone, so I shut the door. I don't remember why, but I have a habit of locking doors while shutting them. So I go in, do whatever I was doing, and these freaking loud bangs are heard from the door. I thought that something real bad must have happened, so I unlocked the door, and my mom is just standing there glowering at me. I was like, okay, what happened? And she starts yelling at me for closing my door and shit. Never shut the door after that. My parents used to do this too. Wasn't allowed to lock doors, but was allowed them shut, as long as we didn't make noise shutting them, because that's slamming. Although we weren't allowed girls in our room with our door shut. Our room was literally on the other side of the house up a set of stairs. My parents were on the other side, up a different set of stairs, addition to the house later on. This one time when I had enough, I had a girl in my room and closed the door because we were chatting. When she left, I got screamed at. I was 22 at the time, just moved back after moving out of my ex's. I told them I am an adult with adult conversations and relationships. And guess what? I have sex. Oh no, and guess what? I have sex in my room. Oh no, and guess what? I even have sex when you're here. I can be quiet when having sex, so honestly leaving the door open is fine by me, because I can hear you better when you're coming up the stairs. So I can leave the door open while I have sex in my room if you like. I got to keep the doors shut when I had girls over after that. When I was caught looking at porn. Imo, when you put a computer in a 15-year-old boy's bedroom, you're not even allowed to act surprised. Plus my parents never talked to me about sex, ever. I don't know what they expected. It's like they wished I was asexual or something. The fight that caused me to move out, I wash my own clothes and I had white socks. My dad refused to allow me to wash my white socks with my color clothes. All the clothes in the loads were mine. He said I would have to leave his house if I couldn't obey this rule. I left, good for you. How did he respond? Usually it seems like parents who make ultimatums like that don't actually think their kids will move out. He went out of town the day of the fight, came back and I was gone. Since then we have had a great relationship. I think he realized he was being unrealistic. It's been like 12 years. We laugh about it now. Wow, that's a pretty big turnaround from insane to reasonable. Yeah, he definitely wasn't insane by any means, but he had this mentality of my way or the highway. That's why Reddit shouldn't respond to every problem by saying cut contact in this case. Op just got tired of their dad's bullshit attitude and didn't necessarily require complete cutting of contact, but there are absolutely cases where cutting ties is 100% necessary. There are absolutely cases where cutting ties is 100% necessary. No one argued that there aren't. Of course some people just need to be excised from your life. And those people are a small fraction of the people that Reddit will happily recommend you cut out of your life, given the smallest of inconveniences.